get you as much information as possible to make sure that we do everything we can to help you along through this tough time. Well, it's now day 47. And again, the largest complaint that we continue to get, and we have over 1,000 active files, it has to do with everyone who's trying to get their unemployment benefits, their extension, their small business loans. And I know that all of you are smart and you understand that that obviously falls under the Department of Labor, which also falls under the governor's office and is part of the executive branch. But nonetheless, as your representative, we have been working very hard trying to get the Department of Labor to make sure they're doing their job, to make sure that they're returning your calls, processing your claims, and also doing our best to work with the administration. If you know anyone who may benefit from the information we're giving today that has to do with unemployment benefits and the receipt, please right now press share on your Facebook page, and that way this will also be able to be seen by them as well. Also, for everybody who's tuning in, on my Facebook page, we have a coronavirus center, or a place where we post everything that has to do with Atlantic County. Fully aware that there's plenty of information out there nationally, even statewide, but our main focus is on Atlantic County and our Atlantic County families. We're also fortunate that each week our good friend over at WOND, that's AM dial, Scott Cronick, rebroadcasts a lot of this information. And so if anyone of your friends misses it, you can tell them to tune in to WOND, usually on Friday. So I want to thank Scott and WOND for helping keep everyone advised and taking this information, because we spent a lot of time and energy putting it together, and we hope that all of you are able to use it. After my conversation with our guest today, I'm going to provide updates on several of the important issues that affect all of us, so please stay tuned. Well, the Department of Labor and their Division of Unemployment and Processing Claims has done such a poor job thus far in being able to communicate with the citizens, particularly I can speak of for Atlantic County. We have volumes of calls, over 1,000 active files, and these are just good people. They want to work, and they weren't able to work because of the shutdown. And now they just want the government that shut down their business to give them the unemployment that they're entitled to based upon the government's own actions. And this is not meant towards each individual person working within the Department of Labor and working in unemployment. Each one of them is dedicated and working very hard. It's simply an antiquated system that is not properly staffed by the governor's office, and they are not given the resources that should have been foreseen and are necessary in order to make this work. I also want to compliment the press of Atlantic City on their article about the failure of the Division of Unemployment to process claims in a efficient manner. Every person deserves to be able to be treated with the respect and dignity that they deserve, and unfortunately, due to the lack of staffing and the antiquated equipment, a lot of people just aren't getting that. But I want to assure you that I continually contact Labor Commissioner Angelo, and he assures me, and this is important, he assures me you will get the benefits you are approved for. And more importantly, you will get them from the date that you were entitled to them. So we've explained to him that that's not good enough, that we want you to be able to get them right now, but you will get all of the benefits you are entitled to from the date within which you are entitled to receive them. So as an opportunity to help everybody out there and help us further understand everything, this afternoon we have with us my guest, Assemblyman Wirths. And Hal is an expert on unemployment procedure and process, And as the former commissioner of the New Jersey Department of Labor and Workforce Development, he is here. He's been kind enough to give us his time and give us guidance on unemployment. He and I actually worked together when our 5 casinos closed in 2014. I can tell you he's a gentleman. He is a consummate professional, and he's extremely talented in everything that he does. So during the conversation, I will be posting in the comments section phone numbers and websites to help you. So please pay attention, because everything that we talk about will be put there so that you'll be able to use it when we hang up. So beginning now, former Commissioner Wirths, it's great to have you. How are you doing?
Well, thanks, Senator. It's an honor to be on your show, and I know how hard you work for your constituents. And I had the honor of working with you, as you said, when you were Assemblyman. And when I first came in as Commissioner of Labor with Governor Christie in 2010, we were just coming off the worst recession since the Great Depression, and unemployment was almost 10%, and went through similar problems, not this magnitude, but it was devastating to see all the folks that were trying to get paid, and we did everything possible to process their claims and get them paid as quickly. And as you touched on, one of the biggest problems is the huge antiquated system. The system's roughly 40 years old. It has many tweaks through the years, but that has to be addressed. And when I was Commissioner of Labor, we came close with President Obama and the Obama administration of getting federal funding, because nobody can do it on our own state funding wise. And we almost got a new system put into place, and a partnership with New York State that the federal government gave us $6 million to do. And just when we were getting ready to go out for the RFP, the federal government decided that they didn't have the funding because they had put so much in other states and the systems had failed. So the main problem, in my opinion, is definitely we need to do a complete UI modernization. And it's a shame that it's only discussed at times when it's really bad, like now. And
So
we
if
had
I,
the Superstorm Sandy too, when the system was really tested, and where we had tens of thousands of claims, and so the system, the biggest thing right up front is we definitely need a new UI system of modernization.
so if I understand, basically what you're telling everyone is that within the state of New Jersey, the computer system, the computer software, all of it is completely antiquated, and you can't put it all on this governor. Certainly, the governor before him and the governor before him, nobody took or was able to follow through and update it properly. And so, right off the bat, even under normal circumstances, New Jersey has an antiquated system that we're dealing with.
That is correct. It's COBOL paying. It's I heard the governor ask for volunteers to come in to work on the system, and anyone who does any type of banking or credit cards, most systems you can self-correct and go in there, and if you get the answers wrong, gives you a chance. And in this system, unfortunately, any mistake at all, and you're just sent into Never Never Land, and then you have to deal with one of the reps. And I would also like to add what you said. I had the honor of leading for 6.5 years, one of the longest commissioners at Labor, an amazing workforce, the Department of Labor, but they're absolutely overwhelmed. And there's 900,000 claims, and I venture to say that number's higher because a lot of people haven't been able to file them.
So in other words, what you're telling us, I think, is important for people to hear, because sometimes we personalize it and we feel as though it's happening to us alone. But what the former commissioner just told us is that the Department of Labor is inundated with over 900,000 unemployment claims, which first off, it's dealing with antiquated equipment, but also it's understaffed for normal circumstances. And when you look at it right now, that pretty much is extraordinary, which is not an excuse. And one of the things that was frustrating was the administration has rightfully told many people that you're not able to come into work and they're work at home. But where one of the opportunities that was missed was bringing people into the Department of Labor, because, as you said, the employees at the Department of Labor are good people. They're working hard. They're going out every day and exposing themselves to possible sickness to try to do everything they can. But there's a certain reality to how many of them there are and how much they can do given a day. And instead of the administration bringing in people who are working at home and supplementing the Department of Labor and supplementing the ability to do that. Instead, unfortunately, they chose to keep them home, and the hardworking people there are really undermanned, aren't they?
Yes, I mean, the governor should be doing everything possible to make sure the commissioner, Rob Angela, who's a good guy, has unlimited overtime and unlimited employees, whether you have to bring them in from all the different state agencies. I think when I was there during the crisis, we were running 7 days a week, and just as commissioner, I authorized pretty much unlimited overtime because I knew there's nothing more needed. And as folks are trying to figure out how to pay the rent, how to pay for their groceries, and it's fine that the money's going to come, and the governor has guaranteed that. But I'm dealing in our office, and I know you are, that people need to pay their bills today, and the anxiety levels have probably never been higher for Americans for these generations. None of us have ever lived through something like this, and it just tears my heart out that people aren't able to get paid, and telling them they're going to get paid at the end. Why it's a little comforting. It doesn't do any good for today, and so I think that really, we have to make sure that the place is fully staffed up, whatever computers they need. I know people in New York, family members who got laid off, and they brought in Google to help out. I don't know if we've been looking at that, but the governor, this should be his top priority. This should be the number one thing, other than the safety and healthy, which he has the COVID thing pretty well under control, and he gives his press conferences. The number two thing on his list right now, other than safety and health, should be getting these folks paid. There's no question. We've taken their jobs away from them by closing down the government, and now we've taken away the pay. And I'm not sure the governor realizes how bad people are suffering, because I think he's dealing with so many people that really haven't been negatively impacted financially from this. But you and I and the rest of the legislators, we're hearing from the people who have nothing, and so this has to be moved way up on the governor's priority list to make sure these folks, and there should be no rock unturned on getting this job done and getting these folks paid as quickly as possible. Again, I commend the employees, and the job they have is very, very difficult in dealing with angry people who've been waiting weeks, and I get that part too.
Well, can you walk somebody listening right now who's had trouble? Can you walk them through? Just start with what should they do? What is there anything that can be done differently, or any advice?
The thing that is most critical is that right now, really, basically, the only way to communicate with anybody, and I get it because of the sheer number of claims, it's impossible to get a hold of somebody on the telephone until you get into the system and file a claim. So the most critical thing is, as they're filing a claim or reopening claim, to be as get the answers, as 100% correct, because that's the problem with the antiquated system.
So
if anything is answered wrong, and it's so complicated, the questions, you almost need a CPA sometimes to get through these questions, because it isn't fair.
So if I understand what you're saying, you're pointing out that it's invaluable to each person that when they do get through and they're filling out the form on the website, that they have to be extra careful, rethink each answer they give, because if they give one wrong answer, because we have such an antiquated system, their application will wind up going into the abyss. And at that point, that's when they're wondering, why has nobody contacted me? What's going on? And the reality is, more likely than not, it's because one of the questions they may have answered improperly. Is that correct?
That's correct. Double check everything twice. The address, your social security number, and then the Department of Labor has given out great cheat sheets now, and even because this is so unprecedented at times, the system also is not designed to pay out a lot of these folks under normal circumstances. The gig workers and 1099s, and the additional federal supplement of $600. So the system is like it's going against what it's done for decades. So everything has to be exact on the dates that you last worked, and the all the boxes have to be checked twice and really make sure they're correct, because if not, then it goes into where a rep will call you back, and that can from the people I've been talking to, that can be 6-7 weeks before call back, and when they do call back, from what I'm hearing, they are very good at getting it corrected. But the mistakes that were being made, and some of them were people doing the right things, but as the circumstances changed under the federal relief that they're giving, looking for work and things like that. Normally, you're always saying, "Yes, I'm looking for work," but you know you have work. You just got waiting for the government to open up the
So
businesses. So that's critical.
you're raising a good point. And last week, one of the things we covered was giving people the answers that were given to us by the Department of Labor for the exact reason that former Commissioner Wirths is talking about. So when you're on the website and it asks you, are you looking for work? You're tempted to point no and click on no because you believe you're going to be rehired and you're just dealing with a crisis. But the minute that you click no, this antiquated machine throws you out of the system and requires you to have somebody call you, which so the Department of Labor has told everybody, even if you come on it and you're not necessarily actively looking, but you still need to click the box that says, yes, I am looking for work, because that way the machine that's set up, I don't know, was it 80 years ago, 40 years ago, and has been doing it for decades, recognizes that the minute you do it for this unique circumstance, it creates confusion and it winds up delaying it. So, what would you say? I have former Commissioner Wirths. I have people who have applied in mid-March who still now. What advice? What would you tell them?
Well, following through, I mean, the most critical thing, and I have a lot of those same constituents, is that when they have the date on there, they keep checking the status of the claim, but when they say they're going to call you on May 5th or May 6th or at 9 o'clock, to make sure that you take that call, because like I said, the people are very anxious to help you, and nobody probably wants you more quickly paid than the Department of Labor, and to get folks squared away. So when those phone calls come through, it does come up no caller ID on there. So just, I grab any calls that are scheduled on that day, and if you have to deal with one or two spam calls, it's worth it. But you definitely
So
take the call, because I don't know how long it can be before you get a call back. And people who are taking the call, customer service reps, my understanding, are doing quite well at getting it squared away. The issues, and it's usually because someone put in the wrong date or the wrong start or the wrong pay, and they're trying to be honest as can be, but it's just so confusing and so unusual. The last Great Recession, the federal government gave everybody an additional $25, and I remember that just being such a nightmare for such an antiquated system. And it's a shame, because any modern system or any modern day insurance company would be able to process that like nothing and get it squared away. So I don't want to keep beating the drum, but until the system is squared away and people have the courage and the guts to take it on, and believe me, it's failed, and this federal government has failed in many states, and hundreds of millions of dollars. It's much more complicated than people think, I guess, because you need the policy, you need the procurement, and you need the politics to get it done. And getting those three things to come together in Trenton is almost impossible. We were so close on getting the federal government, and people say, why the federal government? Because like 70% of the programming in these computers is from the federal government. I always joke that we were a federal agency with state employees, but none of this helps anybody that is waiting so long. And like I said, as a former commissioner, it tears my guts out too, because I lived through trying to get people paid, and like I said, all I could do as commissioner, and I had the backing of my governor to throw every single thing we could at it, and worry about how we were going to handle it later. But the main thing was to get everybody paid as quickly as possible.
So I also hear, so if I understand you correctly, what you're saying is, look, if you applied in mid-March, odds are that one of the columns that you filled out might have been a wrong answer, not because you did it wrong, but because the computer is perceived wrong because it's so antiquated, and that therefore it's kicked out of the system and it's waiting for someone to call. And then what you explained to everybody was, there are plenty of great, hardworking people within the Department of Labor, but unfortunately, there aren't enough of them to meet the demand of approximately 1 million claims being filed. And so, your advice to that person, if I heard you correctly, was to make sure that you answer every call that comes on your cell phone, even if you don't recognize it or you think it's spam, because the next worst thing to getting kicked out of the system is not being able to pick up the phone when the Department of Labor is actually calling you because you wind up waiting another eternity. Is that correct?
Correct, Senator. And they're usually from about an hour or so of the time because they're going through the list calling everybody back, but it does come up. I think no caller ID. I think it comes up on the call. So if you see no caller ID, it's a good chance it's the government. No, I'm sure. They can't say it, and probably internally, but they probably literally need hundreds of additional ways to get through this crisis, I would think, because now you're adding a federal program that the state has never, like I said before, never paid out under these circumstances. The system was designed to keep those type of claims out of the system, and now with the federal government, you have to process those. And I think those are mostly the 200,000 claims that are now eligible under the new federal CARES Act.
So if I'm hearing you correctly, when you were commissioner, did you pull people from other divisions to help?
Yes,
And
from
yeah,
within, yeah, and I didn't have this volume. In fairness to whoever, and I'm not trying to be fair or unfair to anybody. I'm trying to just give my facts and my experience. We pulled from, we offered very very broad overtime, and on weekends in different call centers to. I honestly forget if we had people come in from other divisions of government, but I wasn't dealing with these astronomical numbers. I think our peak claims are 45,000 from Superstorm Sandy. This is just unprecedented, and not that it makes your constituents feel better. But I mean, I follow it. I did it for a year, 6.5 years, of a huge honor. Systems are crashing all over the country. Even New York State with Google has crashed, and it's just a volume that you never, as the president said, you never plan on shutting down a whole country and telling people. I mean, as Americans, all we've done is tell people, let's get jobs, get people out working, and grow the economy. So, in fairness, everyone just absolutely, as you know, unprecedented times, and telling people to stay in their homes and not be productive is just it's unbelievable.
now one of my concerns is that Atlantic County families are treated fairly. And just as your concern is not just both of us, the state, but the people that we represent more specifically in your Sussex County, are claims being processed in the order they're received?
I'm sure. I mean, the department's I imagine. I've been out since 2016, but I imagine they are. I don't think there would ever be any geographic preference or anything. I mean, I sure hope not. But I can't imagine the folks I worked with would ever do that. But I imagine as an order that they're come in. And like I said, the shame of it is the perfect claims that they're going. From my understanding, the people who know how to do it are going right through. And so that's why those answers that they sent out to all of our legislators also think were very helpful, and hopefully that will cut down on the amount of people that require agent intervention or phone call.
Now, many families, and we touched on this earlier, are waiting for unemployment to call them. When does unemployment usually call?
All during the day. They'll start early in the morning, and I guess we tried to. When I was there, you try to stage them how long you expect to be on each call, so it could be within an hour, one way or the other. But a lot of times they'll email you or on your claim, it'll say the date and then the rough time that they're going to call. They're usually pretty good on it, and but unfortunately those dates are weeks out there from the time the person has a glitch on the computer, and they email everybody back with the notice of the phone call. So the filers will get an email notice of the day and the approximate time.
Okay, so that's important. What we talked about was if you are somebody who has not promptly or within a reasonable amount of time received notification or benefits, odds are that due to the antiquated system, you were kicked out of it, and the system requires you to speak with a live person. So that leads you to step two, being prepared when a live person calls. And what the former commissioner has told us, you should get an email notification that the phone call is going to happen. But if for some reason you are one of these people who's waiting for the call, the advice that you are being given is to answer all the phone calls that you get, because whether it's spam or not spam or somebody you never wanted to talk to, the bottom line is you don't want to miss this call from the Department of Labor, which is your real opportunity to correct whatever may have happened when you initially applied. Now, when the
And make sure it is legit. I mean, I know I don't want to get caught up in any kind of scam or something. It does say no caller ID, and the callers will be able to identify themselves. But it does. I just wanted to give a warning because it does say no caller ID on it. But of course, you have to be very careful who you're giving your information out to. But chances are nobody else will know that appointment time other than the Department of Labor. Should feel pretty safe.
And that's great advice. What the former commissioner is saying is, in your zest to make sure that you give the information to the Department of Labor so that you can get your information and get your claim processed, don't let your guard down. Make sure that the person you are speaking with on the other end is legitimate, is not a scam artist, is not somebody just trying to get your information. I trust everybody listening is smart. You understand, and you'll be able to verify that you're actually talking to somebody from the Department of Labor. Now, when unemployment calls, what documents and information should our families have ready?
Yeah, if they can bring up the copy of the claim or the screenshot of it, have that. But anything that you had that you needed to claim, have it definitely in front of. Normally, that would be your W-2 and your start dates and your last day of work dates. But now, obviously with the new federal program, your 1099s or any of the financial documents that you needed to have, because the last thing you want to do is have to have a phone call back. But let me tell you, the people I've spoken to who the technician who called in had to get a few things. They were very good about calling back within a few minutes or half an hour. So I think that even takes a little more time. They really try to conclude that problem, and why they have that call. And I do know they get back to people within a few minutes on the same claim. And all the guidelines too are definitely on the Department of Labor website. Exactly what you should have in front of you for that phone call. Because and my other thing just is, like I said, they are good, hardworking people, and I know the frustration. And I'm a little bit of a hot-headed Irishman myself. I imagine if I was on the other end of the call, I probably. And just remember, they're just good, dedicated state employees who are dealt bad cards, and they want to call or email about it. They call the front office, the governor's office. I think the commissioner and the employees are doing everything possible, and we'll see what they're doing to help them out and make sure they get as much additional staff as they would need.
So one of the things that I'm aware of is that while you and I are speaking, former Commissioner Wirths, this setup that I'm doing is the best that I've got. It's the Wi-Fi from the building that I'm in, and it's the guy who works with me. I think it's his daughter's laptop that we're using today. So I hope everybody can be patient. This is simply the best that we have to try to get you all the information. I understand that the screen may be freezing sometimes, but I also understand that the sound is coming through. So that's more important anyway, because it's not much to look at from your end. So I also want to let listeners know my staff, it just says we're doing the best we can with the equipment that we have here. My staff is working from home. So when my office calls you back, you may not recognize the phone number. Please do your best to answer those calls until you start receiving benefits. If it's a telemarketer, just hang up. But I assure you that we're doing everything we can. We are totally unstaffed or understaffed for anything like this. We have over 1,000 active files of families that we're trying to help and work them through the process and get them the information, and we will continue to work hard for everybody. We're talking about 12-hour days, day in and day out, and that's what we're here for. We're here to do it. But when you call, sometimes I had a guy, Mike Merlino, who I know. He called yesterday at 3 o'clock, and at 4 o'clock, he's posting that we hadn't gotten back to him yet. And the reality is, when you have this kind of volume and this many people, and you don't have the staff, and they're working 12, 14 hours trying to make sure that we're doing everything we can to help people and get them the information. So I would ask on behalf of my staff, because you're smart, those of you who are listening, you understand that the Department of Labor falls under the executive branch. What is that? Falls under the governor's office. I am in the legislative branch, and we are doing everything we can to work with the governor's administration to get you the decent care and the treatment that you deserve. But we are doing our best, and we will continue to do our best. Now, let me ask you this, Commissioner Hertz. Some families have older claims, and when they attempt to file for benefits because they are recently loaded, they're unable to open a new claim or access their old one. Can you shed some light on what's happening?
That was Senator. I mean, you can, I know the system's been down for crashing and also for maintenance, but you should be able to file a claim or reopen a claim at any time. So I'm not really sure what is happening on the cases where they can't open and whether it was
So if
was down or.
if they go onto the website and they follow the prompts, what you're saying is there will be a prompt that says reopen a claim or start a new claim, and
Correct.
there should be no obstacle to anyone who's been recently furloughed and had a older claim from being able to open a new one.
There shouldn't be, and if there is, then it's going to throw them into the unemployment rep back. And some of the peak cases that are like people who have two jobs even, and they lost one job but had the other part-time job. That's been throwing people out and causing problems to get back. So it's just so many issues. I'm not exactly sure, but I keep trying to either open the existing or to file a new one, and then at least it gets you into the process where you can get a call back from unemployment. But I'm not exactly sure what may be happening other than the system going down for maintenance and for sheer volume quite a bit. Again, I mean, I guess just it's tough to even comprehend. Probably conservatively 1 million people in a state of 9 million out of work. But I know it doesn't do any good to the people who need money to pay their bills, and very sympathetic to that. And as you said, our entire legislative staff, I share an office with Senator Overholt and Assemblyman Space, so we have our entire workforce. Actually, everyone used to handle different agencies in the state, and the entire workforce is dealing with UI claims just like everybody else, and emailing them, and because it's tough, it's impossible to get somebody on the telephone. I think, even for legislative offices right now, that's how backed up things are.
Well, we feel that as well, and if I hear you correctly, not only is Commissioner Wirths a former commissioner with the Department of Labor, but he's presently an assemblyman representing constituents within New Jersey. And what he's pointing out is even us as legislators, the fact that we are in a different branch of government and that we're not in the executive, we don't control the Department of Labor, is strictly under the governor and his staff. Even we are having trouble due to the volume. And so there is hope. That's what we're trying to say. Each person wants it done, deserve to have had it done. People waiting 4 to 6 weeks, it's unacceptable. However, the reality is, with, as Commissioner Wirths pointed out, 1 million people filing claims in a state of 8.5, 9 million, with an antiquated system and an understaffed department, we are all muddling through and trying to do everything we can to get people the relief that they deserve and they're entitled to. And we're going to continue to do that, but have hope and understand that it will get through. And when it does get through, your claim will be paid from the date that it was first available, when you first became eligible, and you will get all of the benefits that you are entitled to. Now, if someone's getting a notice that their claim is not payable at this time when they certify weekly, could it be an issue with how they are answering the questions?
If they're getting certified, if it's coming up the amount that is certified, and they have not received their benefit, I mean, it usually takes about 3 days to get the benefit. But if it's showing that the status is filed and showing that should that should be okay.
And so what claim is saying not payable at this time?
Oh, not payable at this time?
Yes.
Then I think unfortunately they're going to have to get they'll get an email from the Department of Labor explaining why it's not payable, and then they're going to have to speak with somebody.
So if I understand you correctly, repeatedly what we come back to tell each person who is making an application and is frustrated through the process, first and foremost, they have to make sure that they've submitted their proper email address. Secondly, they have to make sure that they monitor their emails because the Department of Labor will contact them through that email address to give them a heads up of when the phone call is coming. Third, they need to make sure that they're paying very close attention to their phone and answering the call, because if they don't answer the call from the Department of Labor, they could be back another 3 to 5 weeks. Is that all correct?
That's correct, Senator. One other thing I'd like to add is make sure that I know a lot of us do it automatically to check the junk mail maybe before they dump it too, just in case they have a real good filter on and they're getting an email from unemployment and might have been unread, and that might be another reason why if they haven't answered the question back. I think the Department of Labor, by giving the answers to the questions, should hopefully really be helping the new claims. Unfortunately, hundreds of thousands are stuck in this no man's land that has to be corrected, and really the only way to correct that is going to be having staff. And I know your staff is working on our staff, but some of our staff and they're not experts, and as you said, it's not their responsibility. It's the Department of Labor's responsibility, and so our folks are having a very difficult time going through because they're trained for constituent services. They're not unemployment experts, and
That's
it's
right.
a very complicated process. So we're doing the best we can, but it's really not the job of the legislators to be. We're more than willing to help out anyway, but it's not our job to be filing UI claims because that's not our expertise, and we're dealing with very confidential information. So there's a lot of unknowns there, and I know that it's our job to make the constituents and as whole as quickly as possible, but it's very, very difficult. As I know, I'm preaching to the choir.
Well, one of the questions that somebody called in, I believe it's Valerie Koob, and she wanted to know, what about people who are self-employed? Is there any advice for them?
Well, that's up and running. That's the new federal program. So you file the Department of Labor website, and that's the one I think the commissioner said they were going to start processing last week. So I think that's under the gig workers and the 1099s and people who would normally not be eligible. It's my understanding. Those I haven't dealt with any personally yet, and never dealt with as a former commissioner because obviously they weren't eligible under the unemployment system because they didn't pay in and it wasn't part of the system. But now, since the federal government, state government realized that to no fault of anybody, all the businesses were shut down, that they had to come up with the programs to protect the hardworking people who've lost their companies and employment temporarily. I sure hope they're temporarily to no fault of their own because they're not legally allowed to work. So I think that's up and working. You go right to the state website and answer those questions.
So you go to the state work site for if you're self-employed. Then we have a different question from Angel Nat. What's going on with the UI extension of 13 weeks that was approved? Do you have any information on that?
No, I have nothing new on the $600 one. Is they talking about the $600 one's going through July? The additional federal. I don't. There's talk of it, but there hasn't been any legislation or anything that I'm aware of on federal or obviously not on the state level to extend the unemployment benefits. I guess it's going to
the federal government.
See when we open up, when government can open up, and I sure hope it's soon.
Yes, you, me, and everybody listening, I am sure, is anxious. We want to do it safely and responsibly, but certainly anxious to get back to work in some sort of normalcy. Well, I want to thank you very much, Assemblyman and former Commissioner. And I guess right now, as we conclude our conversation, what hope? I mean, what would you say? You have so many families that just feel disrespected. They feel as though the system has failed them. They were told by the government that they can't go to work, and then their government doesn't process their unemployment claim. They still have bills to pay. They still have family that they have to feed. They still have their responsibilities. What would you say to them in terms of, from your experience as a former commissioner of the Department of Labor, as to hope that this is going to be okay?
I think, yeah, I know it'll be okay. I don't know the timeline. I can tell you when I reported directly to the governor, is many times the Department of Labor is responsibility of the governor. And when the governor would get a lot of phone calls in his office, former Governor Christie, I'd get a lot of phone calls from the governor's office saying how it's going and what do we need to do. And luckily I didn't get too many of them because he knew what we were dealing with. And so I think, why the governor has done a good job on the COVID part. I think he needs to put a lot more attention on the unemployment part. And I don't know what the answer is. Maybe fewer press conferences and less time on TV shows, but they should be having a task force or his top inner staff, his chief of staffs or chief counsel, somebody should be addressing, making sure that New Jersey is doing every single thing possible, everything that we're possible to make sure these hardworking folks are getting paid. Nothing should be off the table. And if it regards going to the federal government for new equipment, reaching out to a IBM, a Google, that type of saying, hey, can you guys assist us? Everything should be on the table to get these people paid quicker and more efficiently. And first thing you could do immediately is staff up to bring in everybody that can possibly answer a telephone call, because that's where you're really backed up, and help these hardworking folks get their claims processed, and help the hardworking folks at labor who I'm sure are just overwhelmed, and it's got to be a brutal job getting 10, 20 hours of phone calls of people that haven't been paid for weeks. So the governor has to step up and make this a top priority, and he's in charge of Department of Labor, and it's one of his divisions of his departments, and tell us what he's going to do to get people paid.
Well, former commissioner, I want to thank you for taking time to be with us today and to talk to our Atlantic County families. And as with anything, it was a lot of common sense advice. There is no magic bullet, if I hear you correctly. Basically, some of the most important things are when you're on the site and you fill out the information, check it once, check it twice. If for some reason one of the boxes is answered incorrectly, for example, where they say, are you looking for work? Because it's an antiquated system, the Department of Labor is saying click yes. Even if you know you're going to be rehired, click yes. And if for any reason you wind up not getting processed quickly, it is more likely than not that one of the questions on that form was answered improperly according to the antiquated computer, which means you were kicked out, and now you need a call from a live person at the Department of Labor, dealing with the Department of Labor with hardworking people, but they are extremely understaffed. So they are going to use the email address that you put on your form to let you know when they're going to call. After they send you the email, you need to do everything you can to make sure that you answer the phone call, because if you miss that phone call, it's another 3 to 5 weeks that you're going to have to wait. So, is there anything in addition or more particular you would like to tell us?
Nope, just a tip. And I think you hit it, and it sounds easy, but it's not. I just know how complicated the forms are, and they are very good at communicating by email, the Department of Labor, and the phone calls. And the only other thing that I'd add as former commissioner, that I think the governor has to start a plan on when we can return to work safely, and that'll also cut back on the system as people are eager and anxious to get back to work. And number one job of all of us elected officials and appointed of safety of our constituents. I get that safety has to be first, but I do feel that there's a lot of businesses that are teetering on the edge and will create another problem if we don't allow them to open up and safely serve their customers. So I just hope the governor, hope and pray that he's going to start allowing some reasonable employment to return. Again, safety first, but we have to get our economy open. We have to get these hardworking people back to work as quickly and safely as possible. So that's all I really have, Senator. And I
Well,
your constituents so much, and I also know how hard the people at labor. There's just, I'm sure, so understaffed on the call centers. I don't have those actual numbers now, but I can assure you they're understaffed by probably 100 or 200 people. That
So
they could use.
if somebody wound up missing their call, anything they should do in particular?
I think that they give you another call back. If you missed a call, I think they give you another call, another email will come back, but I don't know on the exact how much time would go through, because I know everyone that has been scheduled waits for that call, and it is to them one of the most important phone calls they get. But I don't know exactly how long you're thrown back into the hopper. I know they're great that once they have you on the call, they need to check and call back. But I don't know exactly how long the next call is, Senator. So.
No, fair enough. So if I understand you, if you're somebody who missed the call from the Department of Labor, Commissioner Wirths is explaining that they will give you another call. You have to pay attention again to your email, because usually they will email you first. And then when you get that email, do everything you can, humanly possible, to answer that call. And that should keep you in the process and get you back on track. I want to thank you again, Commissioner, for spending time with everyone. And I know how busy you are, and you're doing it up in Sussex, and we're here in Atlantic. But it's teamwork that makes it all work. So thank you.
Thanks, Senator. And just set their alarm on their phone and put a thing on the refrigerator for that phone call. That's why I tell everyone, that's the last piece of advice. Put that call all over the place that they're calling at 9 o'clock on a Monday morning. Like I said, set your alarm on your phone, put it on the refrigerator, whatever works, whatever calendar works to get that call. And everyone I talk to is usually squared away pretty quickly after that call. I know it doesn't do anybody any good who's waiting the 6 or 7 weeks, but we'll just hope and pray we get through this thing. And I sure wish all of your constituents in Atlantic County, and thank you for having me.
Commissioner, I thank you, and I hope you and your family have a great day, and God bless.
Thank you. God bless. Bye-bye.
So, some of the topics we're going to cover now is an update on unemployment. The first round of the federal pandemic unemployment assistance benefits for independent contractors and gig workers that did go out earlier this week. Labor does this in batches. I'm trying to get a better answer on how many families labor is doing at a time and the frequency of when they process the batches, so I can give you a better idea of when you can expect your benefits. You will receive an email alerting you when your benefits will begin. Now, Labor has not, unfortunately, provided any additional information regarding unemployment extensions. Again, extremely disappointing. Something that we are continuing to work to hope the administration can get its around the unemployment office and better run it. And we're working with the front office along with them to make them better and make them more responsive. The Department of Labor does have guidelines which they've issued to help anyone applying for unemployment extensions. I'm going to post the website in the comments section. And as a reminder, to get the supplemental $600 weekly benefit, you do not have to do anything except continue to certify weekly to receive the $600 per week. The $600 payment is issued separately each week. You may receive it at the same time as your regular unemployment benefits or a few days later. It will usually be deposited into your account on Monday or Tuesday. Now, literally hundreds of you have already called my office about your claim, and we are working to get your benefits as soon as we can. I assure you we want to help everyone who calls, emails, or messages us. I apologize that on time you may call and the phone lines are busy, or you may call and you're put in voicemail. Our office is doing everything we can to become experts on unemployment claims, and we have over 1,000 active ones now. I am telling you, I promise we will call you back. We will get back in touch with you through email. We will do everything we can to help you. When you call our office, this may sound common sense, but it's surprising. Please leave your name, your phone number, and your email address. Again, if you call and you leave us a message, we need not only your name, but also your email address and a phone number. And we are giving top priority. One of the things that has happened is because I am so blessed to have great people working with me. We have people throughout the state now calling me to help them get their claims processed. If you do not live in Atlantic County, I will help you, but I want you to understand my priority and my number one concern are the families in Atlantic County. And I will help you get in touch with your legislative representative from the county that you are reaching out from. As Atlantic County is currently taking appointments for virus testing, the next available date is Thursday, May 7th, this week, behind the Hamilton Mall from 10 to 1. County residents who are symptomatic and have a doctor's prescription may make an appointment at www.atlantic-county.org/COVID/. Now, if you don't have internet access, you may call 609-645-7700, extension 4381. Our nursing homes. Many of you have loved ones in nursing facilities, and it's bad enough you're unable to visit, but now, of course, rightfully so, you are concerned about their health and safety. Unfortunately, we have learned that the infection is higher in some of the nursing homes, which is why we have to pay attention to health of the patients and the staff. Just to let you know, we have been in touch with the administration. Our state attorney general is investigating nursing homes to review the receiving and using the proper PPE to make sure that they are communicating properly with families and making sure the protocols are being followed. There's a new online site to report nursing home misconduct. That's covid19.nj.gov/LC. The administration is working with a national group to provide direction of nursing homes, conducting 2 to 3 reviews of homes, providing long-term recommendations. So I want to thank everybody for joining us today. I understand that the connection wasn't that good, and maybe we can improve our laptop. I don't know what we can do differently next time, but I promise you I'm doing everything that I can with the means that I can to communicate with you, to let you know we care, we love you. We want to make sure that you know that somebody is working 12, 14 hours a day, every day during the week for you, because you matter, because it is a tough time, and we want you to know that people are here for you. I'm going to continue to do my best to get you the most accurate information as quickly as I can. And next week, we're going to be talking about opening up the economy. We're going to get people from the Chamber of Commerce and others potentially to join us about how do we start putting people back to work responsibly and safely. Although things right now, we know with God's help and our faith, we get through this. I thank you all for tuning in. God bless you. Thank you.